Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is episode number 4. With me, as always, is the great one, the JUCO advocate, Brandon Goebel. Brandon, thanks for being here today.
What's up, buddy? Let's
Just
talk
did,
some JUCO, huh?
let's do it. This is the last episode of 2023. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh.
This is it. So let's jump in right into the rewind. Let's talk about the games that happened last week on your birthday, the Brandon Goebel birthday bash. We had New Mexico, Panola.
How good was that game?
It was an
I mean,
amazing game. Panola wins 88-85. Big Bear Cherry 20-7. And then for Panola, Jonah Hinton with 24, Jaden Lawrence with 21.
yeah. I mean, that's a game of two teams that have shown that they're probably deserving of playing in the middle of Kansas, middle, east side, I don't know, for somewhere in Kansas.
They could be visiting the Polo Lounge in March.
They
Is what
could
you're
be
saying.
they could be visiting the Polo Lounge. So yeah, actually what I want to do is see how many Polo Lounge cheeseburgers Bear Cherry can eat in one sitting. It's more than this many though. So yeah, great freaking game. Bear signed at UNLV, is showing that he's the type of physical player that you have to be to play at that level. But Panola, squeaking one out there. Great team effort.
Tuesday, we had two awesome matchups. Indian Hills beat Tonkawa in Ottumwa 88-82. Indian Hills was up big early, 49-28. Trevion LeBeau, 17 and 18. Will Casey with 18, and Javante Campbell chipped in 21 for Tonkawa. Tonkawa fought hard down to the final buzzer. And then in Florida, Daytona State wins in Niceville 85-79 over Northwest Florida State. Kylan Green led the way with 23. Taywon Simpkins had 18 for the Raiders. Talk Tuesday. That was a big night in JUCO hoops.
Yeah, was watching the Indian Hills game. Looked like maybe they were going to run away, and then Tonkawa just really stepped on the gas and brought it back. I think it got as close as 3, might have been 4, pretty late there. Big game for Will Casey stepping up, freshman from France. That was kind of like a little bit of his coming out party for Indian Hills, just showing what he's going to be down the road. Javante Campbell, great as usual. But Trevion LeBeau, one of the most impactful players in all of junior college, just able to just get things done, whether it's on the glass, whether it's defensively. He's so athletic and tough and plays hard. He's the type of kid that helps you win those tough games. And then, Kylan Green is starting to show that he's one of the best guards in the country. Josue is a phenomenal player. Super under recruited right now. I mean, basically all of Daytona State is super under recruited right now. And that was a big time win. We'd said on last week's show that Northwest Florida had shown every which way possible that they were the number 1 team in the country. And apparently Daytona State didn't watch the show. So they said,
No JUCO
no.
Jam jinx.
Yeah, they just said, yeah, we got this. So another great game. Again, another couple teams that we're going to see in the national tournament. I think so. And so, yeah, just another great one on Tuesday.
Wednesday, Triton Southeastern. Triton might be a little bit off the radar this season, new coach and Brian Burns, but Triton picked up a really big win, 88-62. 5 Triton Trojans in double figures. AJ Dixon led a really balanced attack with 16 points. And Triton, they're gonna shoot some threes, 14 from 40 from 3. So Triton stays undefeated.
Yeah, Amar Aguiard is one of the most prolific scorers in the country. And then it helps if you're going to have that kind of player, that big scoring guard, wing kind of guy, that you've got a point guard that's elite like Dylan Williams. And both of those guys really leading the way for that squad. And so, when things are clicking for Triton, they can compete with anybody. I know there's some people that might look down on the Region 4 schedule. That's not Triton's fault. That's where they are. But they win the games that they need to win. And so when you go against a team that's as good as Southeastern, and you kind of dominate and hold serve the entire game, like that should mean something to the voters.
And at the end of the day, Triton, no preps, no JVs on the schedule, right? So they're going out, they're playing legitimate teams that are giving scholarships out too. On Friday night, we had just an iconic blue blood battle. South Plains goes into Ottumwa. They defeat the Warriors 74-68. Jabari McGee with 20, Jamari Hill with 16. And I thought Braden Sparks was really good for Indian Hills, and up with 17 points. And Travion LeBeau held to 12-7. But a really good game. I thought Jabari McGee was really terrific in that last 10 minutes of the game when South Plains came from behind to win.
Yeah, Indian Hills looked like maybe they were going to pull away in this one. I think they got up 10 with maybe 5-6 minutes to go, something like that. And South Plains just comes storming back. Quality up and down that roster, quality up and down both sides roster, both rosters. But somebody as experienced as Jabari McGee, who's just tough and effective in all aspects of the game, kind of took over there. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was a huge shout out to both of those coaches for playing this game. It's two top 10, top 15, whatever you want to call them, teams, two legendary programs. And junior college really needs more of these games. This is better for everybody when teams like this play.
Absolutely. Saturday, we had an amazing slate of action. Trinidad State, who's been to the national tournament the last 2 years, defeated Odessa 81-71. So Trinidad State doesn't get a lot of publicity nationally, but people within the community know who they are and continue to sneak up on people.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Trinidad State last year. It looks like maybe we're going to be continuing to talk about them. DeJour Reeves isn't there anymore, a favorite of the JUCO Jam show. But you know what? His little brother's on the team, and he's pretty good too. So great win by Coach Folda and the Trojans there. Odessa's going to be fine. They've had a little bit of a struggle here recently with playing some close games that maybe they didn't think would be so close, but they're well coached. They're going to be just fine.
And then we had three Florida JUCO shootout games on Saturday that really caught our eye. Northwest bounces back with a big win over Florida Southwest, 74-67 in overtime. Eastern Florida, too much for Gulf Coast, 82-63. And then Indian River, huge win, 97-83 over Chipola. Our good friend Mustafa scored 38 points. I'm not even going to try the last name, but he's number 23 on the roster, number one in your heart, and he makes scoring the basketball look really easy. Give me some thoughts on Florida, BG.
Hey, how about 38 points against Chipola being 20 shy of your season high thus far? I mean, he's scoring at an incredible rate right now. Deng Majak is playing wonderful for them. He was really good in that game as well. And then of course, Jay Shane Woodard is just kind of getting things done all over the place. Game that I really enjoyed watching there, that Northwest Florida Southwestern game. Coach Murphy does a great job down there at Florida Southwestern, just couldn't quite get it done in overtime there. That was a great bounce back by Northwest Florida to come away with a gritty win there. And then Eastern Florida, with the win there, and Owen Aquino having a triple double as a 6'8" skilled forward, having, I think it was 10 points, 11 rebounds, maybe. I could be wrong there, but then 10 or 11 assists. Out of your forward.
He's a point forward.
He's something, man. He's something. So Owen Aquino, Spanish player, played for the Spanish national team this last summer. I'm sure that experience really kind of helped prepare him to take another step this year, and thus far he's proving that he has.
Big battle in Kansas. Barton 65, Butler 61. Miles Thompson and Mr. Jones, 14 points for Barton. Barton hit only 1 out of 8 from 3. Butler has that real stifling defense. Caleb Washington led Butler with 17 for the Grizzlies there. That was just a hard-fought slugfest in Kansas.
Yeah, I love both of these teams. I think they're both, they're both definitely securely in the top 25 this year, and both really well coached. Coach Coombs, Coach Fisher. You look up and down the rosters, there's Division I talent all over the place. This was just like a great slobber knocker, kind of traditional Jayhawk game that was a lot of fun to watch.
Another game that kind of looked like a Jayhawk game, which happened to take place in Region 14, was Lee versus Panola. Lee wins 58-53. And whether it's Lee, Panola, or Trinity Valley, these teams are like all jumbled together, even in the rankings. And they're just trying to find little things to differentiate themselves really from each other. And this is a big road win for Lee.
Yeah, Lee's kind of been able to win whichever way they needed to so far. They've played high scoring games. They got into a defensive, boxing match here with Panola. Lee showing that they're probably deserving of being a top 10 team. We'll see later today, and we'll know by the time this broadcast kind of where they fall into those rankings here. But Lee, but again, both of these teams, and that's the fun part. Let me break away here. Like as we're going through this list of games, these matchups are lots of matchups of teams that are deserving of being in that top 25 discussion, and so many teams that are going to be in that discussion for making it to Hutch. And unfortunately not everybody can make it, but there's a lot of teams that are going to deserve to make it by the end of the year.
This is really a special time of the year, this first month or so of the year for junior college basketball, because what the selection committee has made abundantly clear is go out and play good people, and you're not going to be penalized for it. So it's kind of like an arms race for all of the top programs to go out and play each other, because once your conference play starts, there's really not a lot you can do,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Indian Hills has
You don't
lost a
see
few
as
games.
yeah, you don't see as many games. I mean, I see a scenario where a 22-8 regular season Indian Hills gets an
Yeah,
at-large bid over somebody who's 27-3 who's played 3 or 4 prep schools or JV games.
for sure. If you're Indian Hills and you're sitting in a position where your losses are to big time programs, whether it's when they went to Florida and on the road, or you lose one late, even at home to a who could be a top number one team in the country by the end of the day, South Plains, you can't harm a team for that, especially junior college is a little bit different than if you're trying to apply it to the context of Division 1, where we do have some teams that have a substantial number of non-Division 1 games, or Division 1 but maybe sometimes in name only games, that sort of thing. If you're voting and you're part of the committees, you really have to investigate like what these games mean, as opposed to just looking at the numbers.
And then on Sunday, Moberly picks up a huge win over John A. Logan, 90-54. Freddie Cooper chipped in 16 on a pretty balanced Moberly attack. Moberly hit 11 out of 24 from three. So when you shoot close to 50% from three, I understand that's a good thing. Daytona State, in a game that could have been a bit of a trap, they beat Tallahassee 90-78. So Daytona State red hot right now.
Yeah, Tally started to make a comeback there. I forget how exactly close they got, but as I was flipping back and forth between games, saw that Tallahassee had closed the gap there, and they're going to be very good going forward. They have a great new coach down there. They're going to be a team that we continue to talk about. But Daytona kind of seems to be a little bit of a team of destiny this year, where even when things start to kind of maybe fall apart a little bit late, they just step on that gas. They've got so much skill and talent, and it helps to have one of the best point guards in the country out there. And that's something that I think as teams go through their recruiting, I hear the same thing, like, oh man, we would have been better this year if we'd had a real good point guard. I got to get a real point guard. And then they come to the end of their recruiting cycle, and I look at their roster and I go, hey, you didn't recruit any point guards. What's the plan here, buddy? And then they repeat, right? So having Kylan there, and to coach's credit down there at Daytona, Kylan was not a real point guard last year. He's
More of a combo
5'11".
guard. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can tell you, coach said to him, look, you can be a 5'11" scorer and see how that recruiting goes for you, or you can be a 5'11" point guard that can score and see how that recruiting goes for you. And Kylan bought in, and he's a huge part of why Daytona is as good as they are so far.
Absolutely. That concludes the rewind. Let's get right into the rundown and take a look at this week's games. All right, BG, I'm going to hit you with a slate of Wednesday action. This is good on good. Mineral Area versus Alney. And then we have some Jayhawk matchups, because Wednesday's about Jayhawk. Butler Garden City, Cali Dodge City, Hutchinson Cloud County. What are you most excited about on Wednesday night?
If you want to take two teams that are on complete polar opposite ends of the basketball spectrum and throw them together, that would be Hutch and Cloud. Cloud is still playing great basketball, had a tough loss this week, but They are really well coached. They run a lot of Princeton, which you don't hear very often in junior college. You usually don't have players together long enough to learn the Princeton. But Coach K-Strip's done a fantastic job there. They like to play in the half court. And then on the opposite end, another well-coached team, Coach Tommy DeSalma's got Hutch rolling, and they're trying to score 150 points. And so those two things coming together is just, it's like, hey man, let's get weird. Let's watch some basketball. Let's get weird and see what happens.
I hear the soundtrack in my mind is Power Man 5000 when worlds collide. It's like these are two things that just shouldn't be in the same place at the same time, yet they will be, and it'll be fun. Friday night, we have 5 really cool matchups. We have Eastern Florida State versus Tallahassee. We have Monroe, Florida Southwestern. I mean, Monroe's going out and they're playing some people now. Trinidad versus Salt Lake. Vincennes travels to Ottumwa and play Indian Hills, and then Triton goes down to Carbondale to play John Logan. So 5 really kind of unique matchups. What interests you the most about Friday?
Yeah, Vincennes versus Indian Hills is going to be a great one. Vincennes seems to have established themselves as kind of being ready to take a run this year, and Indian Hills looking for what would be a pretty significant bounce back win, after the tough one against South Plains. So I think that's a super intriguing game. And then, we're going to talk a little bit later to Coach Taylor from Salt Lake. But Trinidad and Salt Lake, Trinidad is well coached. Trinidad is winning some games that you wouldn't necessarily expect them to win. We might call it a trap game, I guess, but Coach Taylor and Salt Lake obviously know how good Trinidad can be on any given night. And that at the end of the season is going, if Salt Lake wins that game, that is going to look like a really quality win, because I know Trinidad's gonna go deep in the Region 9 standings there. But we say if Salt Lake wins, that's because Trinidad again is very, very good and more than capable of just pulling an upset there. And then as you said, Monroe, they know that they have to go out and they have to get some wins. There's some things stacked against them in just, where they're at in the country, and the way that their league is set up and things like that. So, big shout out to Monroe for saying, look, we're going to go and we're going to play some teams and we're going to do what we can with the budget that we have to show people what we have going here in Monroe.
Yeah, shout out to them. And they returned, a handful of good players. So they probably felt like, hey, we're going to push our chips in on this squad, try to get them some experience with Albert Vargas and Jawari Hamlin, Zaire Wells, Stefan Falapa. They returned 4 pretty good guys that were a part of a national tournament team. So really excited to see what Monroe does this coming weekend. And then Saturday, a little 4-pack of action for you. Eastern Florida at Northwest, Dodge Butler, CSI versus Indian Hills. Wow. And then Cali Hutch.
Yeah, I mean,
let's forget the other games for a second. CSI Indian Hills. I mean, that's amazing. I love that. That's just great.
Think about the schedule for Indian Hills for the last couple weeks. Like, my goodness,
Does Hank Polona and Josh Sash have a good relationship?
I mean, they
What's
might not.
That relationship look like?
Yeah, by the end of this, they might not. I don't know, but that's going to be a great matchup. Really excited about this Cali Hutch game too. We've talked a lot about Cali, and we've talked about Jeff Nwankwo, and I'm excited to see him in an environment that's just like, hey, who lasts? Who can keep this pace? And Jeff is one of the best players in the country. He's athletic and he's tough and he's skilled and all that sort of thing. Like, he's great in any environment, but he may really, really excel in this type of pace. And so that'll be fun to watch.
And as of right now, both of the teams are undefeated in Jayhawk action. So this could be for first place in the conference. That concludes the rundown. Yeah.
What are we doing? I don't know.
What are we doing here? What are we doing? That concludes the rundown. When we come back, we're going to have one of the hottest coaches in all of basketball. Coach Kyle Taylor from Salt Lake is going to join us. Stay tuned.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Hey everyone, welcome back to JUCO Jam. We are now in the spotlight with one of the elite coaches in all of basketball, Coach Kyle Taylor from Salt Lake. He's now in his 5th season, and all he knows is the national tournament. He's taken the Bruins to 4 trips to Kansas in the national tournament. His record is currently 123-16, which is unbelievable.
Is that good? I think that's good.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I had a similar stretch in pickleball last year. But I wasn't playing against 70-year-olds. He's playing against the best competition in the country.
Yeah, I hear your schedule was pretty weak, Nick.
Not only is Salt Lake getting it done on the court, during Coach Taylor's reign, he's also produced 17 academic All-Americans. So getting it done in the classroom as well. Off to a great start this season, 10-0. Took a nice Florida road trip, picked up 2 huge victories, Florida Southwestern, Eastern Florida State. And then coming up here in a couple of weeks, you're going to go to the Aztec Classic in Tucson, where you play McLennan, Bismarck State, and Cochise. So, Coach, you're off to a great start. Tell us about this team, and what do you like about this Bruin squad?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show. We have an entirely new team, 2 new coaches, a whole new roster of players. So early on in September and October, just a lot of learning, a lot of teaching, a lot of adjusting. And, I think we've settled into a good routine. We're playing kind of 8, 9, 10 guys, depending on the night. And I like our versatility. We have tremendous size, Cone Collier, 7'1", Michael Falarin and Preston Squire, 6'10", Xavier Edmonds, one of the best bigs in the country. And but then we can also play small. We've got 5 or 6 really good guards. And so if you go big, we can match that. And if you go small, we can match that. And we can play in the half court if you want to play a half court game. And we would prefer to get up and down and play in the 80s, 90s, 100s. And so we can do that as well. So I really like our versatility right now and our ability to play a bunch of different styles.
You have been so close to winning a national title. What are a couple of the areas of improvement when you look at this team from where they are now to where you want to get them in March, that you think this could be the squad that could get over the hump and get it done in Hutch?
Yeah, I think maturity is the biggest thing, and just gaining experience. This is probably the most inexperienced team we've had. We've been really blessed the last couple of years to have a lot of COVID third-year Division I transfers. And so, we've had guys who played 100 Division I basketball games when they came to Salt Lake. And we don't have that this year. And so we really are relying more on some younger guys and some guys who just don't have quite as much experience. So just gaining maturity. We've had a bunch of close games on the road, which has been really good. We had a great game at Florida Southwestern. We were fortunate to pull that one out. And then even just this past Wednesday, Laramie County gave us everything that we wanted and more, and we were able to pull that one out. So I think just learning how to win close games. You don't go to Hutch and blow people out. Everybody at the national tournament is really, really talented. I've played 6 games there in my time, and 5 of those 6 games have been decided on the final possession of the game. The game we got blown out was the national championship game, and that was it. Every other game has been a 1-possession game. So you've got to learn to win close games and execute. And so those are some of the things that we need to do. So we've been really intentional with our schedule. We played a ton of road games, more than we ever have before. And that's trying to just help us to understand how to go on the road and be successful away from home.
Yeah, so leads me into my next question, which was about your schedule. I think you're one of the only junior college programs in the country that has 30 Division I games scheduled. I know Salt Lake was always kind of a staple at the event in Mesa. You know, that event is no more at the Division I level. You know, transition to the Aztec Classic. Tell us a little bit about kind of your thoughts on scheduling overall, and then what you're hoping to get out of the Aztec Classic.
Yeah, the committee has shown that Division I wins is one of the top criteria that they're looking at, and as we start the season, our goal every year is to make it to Hutch. That's the number one goal. You can't win a national championship if you don't get to Hutch, and so that is the goal number one. Bummed about the Fiesta Bowl, the Mesa Classic. That was a great event. I think Salt Lake and South Plains and obviously Mesa were the three teams that played in that every single year that it happened. And that was fun because that was a true tournament and really prepared you for region tournaments and the national tournament, because you had to win and then you played the winner or loser and things like that. And so that event going away is a bummer. Fortunately, Coach Peabody's doing a really good event down in Tucson, so we decided to just head down the road 100 miles and play in that event. So really excited about that. Got a couple good opponents down there, and I think that'll help us continue to get prepared for what we want to do.
So many of the top young coaches like yourself in junior college use it as kind of a launching pad to, get that Division I, whether it's in a Division I assistant coach or Division I head coach. And here you are. I'm sure you're one of the most sought after guys every year. People come knocking at your door. But what keeps you at the junior college level, and what do you enjoy most about coaching at this level?
We've kind of termed with the Division I transfers we take like a get healthy year. So we take a number of Division I transfers every single year. Some of those guys, kind of failed, quote unquote, on the basketball court. Some of those guys really struggled academically. Some of those guys, made poor decisions and struggled in terms of socially or just showing up on time and valuing, being coached hard. And so it's really rewarding to bring those guys here and give them a year to get healthy. And we've had great success taking Division I transfers, bringing them to Salt Lake for a year, and then them having the opportunity to bounce back to Division I. So for me, really being able to help, we've had 38 players in 4 years go Division I, and to just help those guys really accomplish the number one goal in their basketball career, which is getting a Division I scholarship, has been a lot of fun. So that's a huge reason that I'm still at this level. And then also just the ability to win and compete for championships. There are not very many Division I coaches and programs that have a legitimate shot at the beginning of every season to win a national championship. And I'm fortunate enough at Salt Lake. Obviously, we haven't won one, and it's really, really hard to win a national championship. But we can legitimately set a goal in August and September when we get together as a team and say, winning a national championship. Does that mean it's going to happen? No, not necessarily, but it's a legitimate possibility for us to do that. So being at a place you can win, and I've got great support. My athletic director, Kevin Dustin, is phenomenal. Our vice president and our president support athletics at a really high level. And so just the ability to win and have the opportunities that we have, make it fun to stay here.
Coach, before I get into the most important question of the entire interview, I do kind of also want to touch on, the diversity of, the backgrounds of players that, I've seen come through there that is just so unique. And as far as then what they go on to do, Salt Lake has had players go play in the Ivy League recently. You've got high majors, you've got, a little bit of everywhere. And it's so interesting to kind of go up and down that roster every year and just see the different, pieces that you put together, and then what those guys are going to do at the next level. It is unique, even in junior college where there's so many opportunities and stuff, but just within one team to kind of really have that all over the place, I think is special, and probably has had a lot to do with the success, that you've had, where it's not just one type of player, right? It's, you have the second chance guys, but you also have the guys that were under recruited and overlooked. And you have the, you've got return missionaries, and you've got all these different pieces that all come together in one cohesive unit is actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and we have married guys. Every been at Salt Lake, we've had at least one player who's married. There's not many junior college teams that have that. We had 3 last season. We've got 1 this year, And so, yeah, I think Salt Lake, obviously the major metropolitan city, our location in Utah, which you referenced, having some return missionaries, and then just being an NBA city really helps us to be able to recruit, across the country and pull a variety of different backgrounds and players. And I think that helps, us form a really good team.
For sure. Well, now the most important question of the interview. So I need you to picture for me, if you will, maybe a road trip up to Coeur d'Alene or something, driving through the wilderness. And you come back with a win and you say, all right, guys, it was a big win. We're gonna do something special here. You pull into the parking lot and the green and red glow of the neon sign casts across the asphalt, and you pull into Chili's. What are you having at Chili's?
I'm having the ancho salmon.
Oh, we've not had that one.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ancho salmon, and I'm getting it regular. It comes with broccoli and Mexican rice, and I'm a big fan of the whole meal. So
interesting. Wow. Just stepping out there, just no honey chipotle chicken crispers. We're not even talking about queso. We're going straight to salmon.
Yeah. I'm a West
Interesting.
Coast guy. I'm a California guy. So when I can get decent seafood, I'm doing it.
Nobody saw that one coming on the scouting report, I don't think. So
I have 6 pages of notes for this interview, and I didn't see that. That was not in any, that was not in the scouting report at all. That's great.
So funny. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. Good luck the rest of the way. And when we come back, we will get into the grind.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. We are now entering the grind. We're going to feature one of the top players in junior college basketball. Brandon, I know he is one of your favorites. Trevion LeBeau from Indian Hills, 16.5 rebounds per game, 16.5 points, 11.3 rebounds, and shooting an impressive 38% from three. Talk about Mr. LeBeau.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have said 11 points and 16.5 rebounds, like I still would have believed that too.
It's probably correct.
Yeah, it's
one of those options is correct.
Yeah,
he rebounds many things.
We talk a lot about prolific scorers and guys that really shoot it and all that sort of stuff. And hey, Trevion can score, but just the way that he plays and the way that he gets things done and the way that he impacts a game is pretty special. He's not a real tall guy. He's very, very athletic and uses that athleticism about as well as anybody in the country, but he's just, it's totally cliche, whatever. He's a junkyard dog. Like whatever you need him to do. You need me to go get 20 rebounds, I can go get 20 rebounds. You need him to go make corner threes and stuff, he can go do that. He can dunk on people. He can do all of the things that you need him to do to be successful. And so, he's not going to be the most heralded, most recruited player in the country, but you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of other players that impact the game and impact their team as much as he does.
And it just takes one program, right, to fall in love with him and further, to be that fit. I know you often talk about Isaac Mushila, and I know they're a little bit. They're different. They're a different player, but there's some similarities there, right? And if you want to play professionally, you got to have like one thing that you do extraordinarily well. And that one thing that you do extraordinarily well could be rebounding the basketball. And that's an extraordinary ability that he has, especially when I watch him play. It's the offensive rebounds to me that are always the most impressive, because that's an extra 4 or 5 possessions that he's getting the team another chance.
For
So
sure.
I just think it's really impressive when you can go get offensive rebounds, especially at his size, whether 6'4", 6'5", whatever it is. But I hope that somebody out there that's a Division I coach is being a little bit open minded and not saying, well, I got to have my 4-man. It has to be 6'8", 6'9", whatever the case might be. Sometimes you just take the guy who can go get the basketball and get it done.
For sure. And not that he's the same type of player, but when I watch him play, I think back to a player like Pierce Horning at Colorado State, a decade plus ago now, which makes me feel terribly old. But he was the number 1 rebounder in the history of Colorado State basketball, and he's 6'5". And that was great teams that he played on, winning teams, tournament teams, and he just got stuff done. And Pierce didn't have anywhere near the athleticism and skill ability that Trevion does. And so that we're talking about a high level Mountain West squad back there. You're telling me that Trevion LeBeau can't come into a program of that ilk or of that level and be an impact guy? Absolutely he can. And so in a day and age where coaches are overthinking things a lot of times, and they're looking to the portal constantly for the answers to all of their needs and questions or whatever, sometimes the best answer is right there under your nose when you see somebody that is playing at a top program that's averaging well into a double-double and has that level of athleticism. Don't worry about the other stuff. He's going to get things done.
And we're going to transition to the show now, and kind of a little bit of a similar story here with this young man. Jalen Bedford at Oral Roberts was on both Trinidad State teams that went to Hutch. 6'4" wing from Austin, Texas, currently averaging about 13 and 7. I'm a big fan of Mr. Bedford. I think he found a really good fit at Oral Roberts, which is all that really matters. But this is a kid with a lot of upside.
Yeah. And I've got a great story I'm going to tell about Jalen, where, Jalen is a J48 alum, played with us in Vegas, but Jalen was not an initial J48 invitee, and that's on me. So I'll own that one. I had his name brought up to me a few different times by one of our guys, Nils Deckau, and he said, hey, I've seen this kid play his entire life down here in Texas. He's really good, whatever. And he had a solid freshman year, but I just said, man, I think there were some other players that were better. And so I didn't invite him. And I received a call on probably about Monday of that week of the event. Everybody shows up on Thursday to play. And Nils says, hey, do we have room for Jalen? And I said, no. There's 48 players. There's 48 uniforms. We have 24 hotel rooms booked for these guys. There's just not room. And he goes, oh, well, we're going to have to figure it out. He'll be there on Thursday. And I about lost it. And I said, okay, what? We'll figure it out. Jalen shows up. And I had kind of fashioned a uniform for him that sort of matched the color scheme of the team he was playing on. And I'll be darned if in warmups, unfortunately, a player went down who is currently playing Division I basketball and doing great, by the way, but went down right away. And I said, well, Jalen, I guess you're in. And he played great, and he had a phenomenal season, and he helped lead his team to Hutch, and he's killing it at Oral Roberts. And I always laugh and think back to that like, I missed that one. And Nils did not, and Jalen showed up at, a last second call and rose to the occasion. So it's not surprising at all to see him doing well at Oral Roberts. Coach Springman loves him, and he's doing great, and he's going to continue to get better.
Player comp for you, a former JUCO guy who I think are a lot alike. Former Vincennes University Trailblazer Michael Mulder. Ooh. Same build, size, And Michael went on to play at University of Kentucky. I use the word play sparingly. He saw a lot of time on the bench and stuck with it. G Leaguer, stuck with it, got a chance, spent some time in the NBA. I just see similar skill set, similar body type. Would not surprise me at all if Mr. Bedford goes on to the G League and keeps working at it. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of viewed Jalen as a shooter in junior college, which, he is a great shooter, but really, really athletic, aggressive on the glass, has a lot of other tools that he brings to the table as well that are going to give him a chance to take a run at kind of what every player's dream is. He's got ability. It's tough. It's really tough, but hey, you know what? That kid's already showed me once that doubting him is a bad idea. So
never count him out. All right, that concludes the show. When we return, we're going to have some closing thoughts. We like to call it the sixth man.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is our closing thoughts. Mr. Goebel, what do you have?
So I had a different plan for the sixth man, and then a game occurred yesterday. Boy, I've lost track of all time. Anyways, that I decided, you know what? This is what I'm going to talk about, my sixth man. Southern University versus Mississippi State. Now, anybody that follows Division I basketball knows a lot of the hurdles that teams in the SWAC and the MEAC a lot of times have to overcome. They have to go on the road. They have to play a lot of bye games. I mean, it is a grind, a lot of bus time, and it is hard. And a lot of those teams, Southern's got a chance to win that league, win the SWAC this year, but they are still having to go on the road and handle their athletic department budget and all that sort of thing. So what do they do early on in the season? They go on the road and they beat UNLV. But again, that grind locks in. A couple games that maybe they could have won, they drop in overtime and drop another one, and then they go out and they beat Mississippi State. Now there are 11 JUCO product players on the Southern squad. Some of them direct from JUCO, some of them JUCO to different D1, and then now to Southern. And so shout out to those guys, those 11 JUCO product players that know what it's like to spend a lot of time on the bus, that know what it's like to not have the resources, to know what it's like to have to go into a game when you're exhausted and you've not slept and you just don't have some of the things that other people have, and it doesn't matter. You can go into an SEC program who is a great team, is really well coached, has some great JUCO talent of their own. But Southern said, not today. These 11 JUCO product players are going to go and win this one. And it was pretty cool to see.
What makes basketball beautiful. I have another question for you from the JUCO Jam inbox.
These always make me so nervous.
Yeah. So I had someone telling me that they thought the junior college basketball tournament was better when when they had 16 teams versus 24. I said, not so fast, not so fast. I like having the 8 at-larges. I think we get more of the best teams there. So then the follow-up question was, what's better? 16, 24, or 32? Brandon Goebel, you are czar of NJCAA basketball. What do you do?
The answer is 32. And let me tell you why the answer is 32. I can only imagine the person that said that thought that, you take, okay, the 16 kind of, I don't even know why they would think that, honestly, because now we're taking auto bids, and you could end up losing one of the best teams in the country that just has a bad day. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Sorry, whoever said that, but that doesn't make any sense. The 24 is great. I love having those 8 at-larges. It gives us a lot to talk about, for one, but it does allow for, a hiccup, right? That makes sure that we still get the best teams in the country. However, give me 32, because why not? We still have all of these fantastic teams that just don't get the votes. I know that the poll isn't supposed to matter in it, but it does. It really does. It people are people. They're going to be impacted by the things that they've seen all season. I think it would really allow for some redistricting of some things that, there are districts that maybe deserve to get at least an automatic bid in there, but they have to go and play against another district, and it makes it, I don't know. Yes, I do believe at the end of the day, 90% of the time we get the best teams, the most deserving teams in there. Yes, every year there's one team that's maybe 2 teams that are left out that were deserving, or you could have flip-flopped and made an argument either way. This would resolve that. But it's going to give us a little bit more basketball. It's going to create some more awesome stories, and it's going to provide a lot more exposure to teams that wouldn't normally get it. Like, I want to see a Region 13 team in the tournament every year. Those teams, in the winter are driving all over to heck and gone in the northern part of the country. And at the end of the year, their reward is to either host or drive down to Iowa to play a district game to try and get into the tournament. I think we can figure out a way that makes sense, that we get to see one of those teams every year. We get to see somebody from Region 1 every year, as opposed to, having to go up to a Salt Lake where there's a pretty drastic difference between the resources that are available. I think if junior college basketball, the mission is to really give exposure to the unexposed. I think we can do that, and we can figure out a way to make it happen. I'm sure everybody in the national office is taking notes right now, and they're all in complete agreement with me, and they'll get that figured out. Yeah, so no, my thought is for 32. And again, it's more than just
Everybody plays 5 too, right?
Yeah,
You got to win 5 to win it, right? It's not some people play 4, some people play 5.
right.
It
Right.
levelizes it. You have kind of the weird thing with a team that gets a bye versus a team that's already played on the court one time, and there's kind of that initial advantage for the team that's already played in the 15-18 game, type of deal.
And I think you're making it as close to the NCAA tournament as possible. And you can really use that idea to market, and you can talk a lot about these players that are being recruited by the teams that are in the NCAA tournament and all that sort of thing. As the NJCAA has done a phenomenal job, President Parker has done a phenomenal job getting more exposure for NJCAA basketball. The entire tournament being on ESPN Plus this year is crazy to think about. That there's going to be national access to viewing this on a big time platform. So that would take it, I think, one step further in really, really, drawing the eyeballs of the nation to junior college basketball.
I couldn't agree more. All right, that concludes episode 4. This is the last show of the year. Mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back with you Tuesday, January 9th at our normal scheduled time. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. Enjoy the Aztec Classic that Coach Taylor talked about, December 28th through the 30th. And go out there, watch some junior college basketball, support your favorite program. Have a great day.